It might be the preseason in the NFL, but we are in full swing here in the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Welcome back. It is episode 31. It's Scott,
This is Deeb.
and we got a show tonight for you. Pat McAfee said today we got our guy.
How many sixth graders would it take to beat LeBron James in a game? Ready for the ultimate sleepers?
Shedeur Sanders went number 144 in the draft.
Yo, episode 31 of the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. We are back. It is time, Scott. This is technically our second episode back from our summer break where we did a refresh. But I'm feeling it tonight, man. I'm excited. I know we got some fun stuff. We got some new segments, a couple things we're going to try out with some interaction for the folks who are listening and watching at home. But first of all, Scott, how are things going?
Hey, man, we're all good here. I'm excited. We had football on the TV last weekend, more than just a Hall of Fame game. We had 50-plus hours of football. Preseason is what it is. Nothing too crazy to get excited about, but the reality is that we're going to have football back on the screens, meaningful football back on the screens in just a few weeks. And I just can't wait for that, man. So we're vibing here. What's going on in your life?
Yeah, no, every time I turn the TV on now, there's always an option, pretty much, it seems like, for a game. And that makes me excited. I will be, I think, a little even more excited once college football starts up because I'll admit, I think I'm on more of the college football train. Like, I really get excited for Saturdays, and I know sometimes they have like Friday night games. So NFL is awesome as well in playing fantasy sports, but I think I'm going to be really excited once we have both back, and definitely college football for sure. For me, it's been like, we've kind of talked about in general, been pretty productive. So we did start team camp this week for football. So I was there last night, so we had pretty much like our first two a day, and so it was pretty good overall. Kind of interestingly, so I'm learning a lot about the state requirements, like from a law slash rule perspective. So I'm kind of curious. You might have to look up what you have in North Carolina, but apparently Michigan has kind of strict laws and rules around when you can go into pads. So like we're literally about like 2 weeks away from the very first game, and they still haven't been in pads. So they will be in pads officially tomorrow. Tomorrow is the very first day, according to our state regulations, that they can wear pads. Where they were telling me that, in like Texas and some of these other states down south, like they've been in pads for a little bit now. So it's like just a completely different, I guess, requirement, generally. So that's been a lot of fun, man. In addition to just learning about like the actual coaching part, you also kind of learn more about the game and how things differ from state to state. So it's been pretty fun.
That's interesting. So have they had any just like helmet and shoulder pad practices or just no pads at all?
So it's only been helmets. So
Okay.
yeah, they can wear helmets, and they do helmets all summer for like 7-on-7 in practice, but yeah, no pads until tomorrow officially, which is crazy.
That is wild, man. That is so different than my experience playing high school football, and I'm sure probably yours as well. And there's things that just feel different when you're fully padded up, man. You're less agile, less flexible, especially I know from playing quarterback, throwing the football, you got to get used to doing it with the shoulder pads on. But
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure there's reasons for it. It's just
Yeah.
the game must have changed, that is so different than how things were for me as a kid.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, there's a lot of stuff for safety. There's like, stuff about like heat protocols, and you can't go out in a certain heat index. So yeah, there's definitely like a lot of different stuff that I feel like was not a thing. What was it, like 15 or 20 years ago, however long ago it was when we played?
I don't want to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, a while ago.
Time. It's been a long time, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else going on your end?
Nothing crazy here. It rained like nearly every day for like the last week and a half, so haven't been doing anything super exciting.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm really excited about, and this is a thing that I do, and we've done some of this together before, but I've kind of gotten a little bit back into working on some music
Mm,
recently. And so there's been a few days this past week where I've tried to carve an hour or two out here and there and work on a new song that hopefully will be done here soon. I've made actually much quicker progress on it than I thought.
nice.
So that, when we can't get outside and there's not a whole lot to do, I've been trying to find things to keep me busy that I love video games. I still play a lot of that, obviously, but I don't want to only play video games all the time. And there's other hobbies I have. So,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, that's probably the most exciting thing right now is just that I've had some time to really dive into music lately.
Nice. Hell yeah. And I know you kind of had mentioned, possibly a little teaser that maybe we'll try to work on a collaborative theme song or something for our intro. So that may be a cool project that we can work on together. So we'll have to maybe find some time when it gets a little colder out. And like you said, you're kind of, stuck to being inside, don't have outside activities as easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got the skills for it. I live in a place where it doesn't really get cold enough to not go outside, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I do see that you have a new hat. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, like we said in the last episode, our merch is officially launched. Our store is live. You can find the link to it on our general website, singlebarrelsports.com. There's a variety of products right now: shirts, polos, hats, koozies, things like that. And the store will be in a continuous flux of kind of changing, adding, maybe removing, creating limited edition items. And so, if there's not something there that's calling your name now, the store will continue to get updated over time. But this is a different hat than the one you are wearing,
Yeah.
just to kind of show that we've got some variety on there. And I had the shirt on last week. This week, I'm kind of just wearing something casual, but there's all kinds of stuff there. And I think a lot of it turned out really good. We're really proud and happy with the way that our merch is looking
Yeah.
and can't wait to continue to launch some more products.
Yeah, I have on I know it's a little bit hard to see, so I'll move over here, but I have on this Under Armour shirt.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
got the
Sweet.
logo. I think it has the logo on the side too. But Under Armour was one of my favorite brands of shirts, just kind of for comfort and especially in the summertime. And so we saw that they had an option, so I ordered this. This is actually probably one of my favorite items that I've received so far. It's super comfortable. Really like the material and such. And I do want to give a shout out to, and we can do this during our community call if needed, but I feel like this fits better here to our listener Trent, who has been on the pod before and is one of our golf experts because I believe he had the very first purchase from the merch store, and he did get, I
Nice.
think, one of the hats similar to what you have, the golf rope hat, but I think he got it maybe in a different color. And so
Hell yeah.
let's give a shout out to him for the support and for becoming our first ever merch supporter.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Everything we make comes in a variety of colors. If you guys want to check it out, if you like it, we would love it if you'd buy it. Go share it, show it off, get the name Single Barrel Sports out into the world. And listen, we know we're still a little guy here, but we've got some slow and consistent growth, and we'd love to just keep getting our product out there for people to hear about us. So thank you, Trent. That's really awesome.
Hell yeah. You ready to get into some sports?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, if you guys have paid attention to the show before, you know that we're on a variety of social media. You can find all of our social media, all of your favorite social media. We will be active on, but that will be at singlebarrelsports.com as well. Any link you could possibly need for our podcast, it falls in that single website right there. As long as you spell it correctly, you're going to find us.
Yeah, and that's where they can find the merch store too. So, if you're looking for that, check out singlebarrelsports.com and that's where you're going to get your gear.
Hell
So,
yeah! All right, go ahead.
sports term of the week. This one
Tell me about it. Yeah, tell me
is
about it.
all about golf.
Oh,
Golf is one of those things that we revisit from time to time. We're kind of towards the end of the quote unquote season for PGA Tour. We still have obviously the finale and then Ryder Cup. But Scott, have you ever heard of the term Texas wedge?
I have not. No, that's a new one for me, and I would have no idea what that is.
So it's one that gets thrown around, and if you play golf from time to time, you'll hear people use it or will actually use this. But it's an interesting one. The first time I heard it, I was like, "What is that?" Like, do you have something from Texas, or is there like something very specific to the state of Texas? So it was a little bit confusing to me, but apparently, the name originated from Texas golfers who would play on a certain type of course. As you can imagine down there, some of the courses might be hard or dry, windswept from just kind of their climate. And part of that is, if you think about this, as I tell you what it is being able to hit the ball a certain way was more favorable for these individuals in that state because of how their courses were designed. So essentially, it's when you take your putter and you're pretty far off the green, or you're in a spot where you're not on the green, right? So that's kind of the key part of this is you're not on the green. You could be on the fringe, so maybe you're right off the green. But when you see people do it on like PGA Tour, they're usually definitely off the green for sure. But essentially, you're using your putter instead of a wedge. So just imagine it being like a really long putt that instead of using a like sand wedge or 56 or 54 or whatever, it's actually maybe more helpful to keep the ball low and you want it to roll because based on your conditions, this could be used if it's like windy out, if the course is firm, if you know that you can you want to be able to basically keep the ball on a certain line. That's essentially what people will use this for. And another interesting fact that I learned is from one of the golf coaches that I worked with, he actually always recommends using the putter if you can use it. He was like, whenever you can use a putter and it makes sense, if you're around the green, the fringe, etc., use it because you're going to be generally as a not, super good player, you're going to be a little bit less likely to mess up with the putter versus a wedge, which can be, as you probably know, Scott, and those listening, pretty challenging sometimes to hit in those situations.
Yeah, I've actually done this many times, not knowing that there was a term for it, but I am historically just terrified of using a wedge because it's either going to do exactly what I want or it's going to go really far off course, and there's never any in between.
Yeah.
And indeed, as you know, this is an aside, but I don't even have a pitching wedge in my bag right now. You were there the day that that thing.
Yep.
It's kind of funny. That was the best hit I ever hit with my pitching wedge. The ball literally landed like a foot away from the hole and just stuck. It was perfect. The only thing that wasn't perfect is that the club head flew off, and I have not replaced it yet because I don't like wedges that much. So I've just found excuses now to not have to use a wedge.
That's hilarious. I do remember exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, I think both of us are pretty shocked because we were like, number one, that was a crazy good shot. Number two, how did the head just fly off the club?
Yeah, and how did the head fly off the club on such a great shot? I was just so shook. I was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, definitely an interesting moment. But yeah, that's the Texas wedge. So anyone out there who hears that is not familiar, or some of you that you're an avid golfer, you've probably heard that before.
Yeah, that was a brand new term for me. I like that one.
Hell yeah. All right, so we got the weekly recap. We got some interesting stories from the week, and we also have, I think, some that are a little more funny, some that are a little more critical. So, um, do you want me to kick off with the first one here?
Go for it. I know you're dying to talk about this one.
Okay. So, I was on the road last week for work. So I flew out to the state of Iowa for a conference. And, when I'm on the road, we are in the airport, hotel room, etc. I always like turn on Sports Center, ESPN, or sometimes you're in the airport, etc., kind of looking through X and other things. And I couldn't help notice that mainstream sports media, and when I say this, I mean like ESPN, Sports Center, those types of things, and even some folks on, Nike's one that I think we have a picture of on here, that we can show where, man, they were literally like so crazy about Shedeur Sanders starting the preseason game for the Cleveland Browns. It felt like it was literally the Super Bowl. I was just everywhere I looked, it was like Shedeur this, Shedeur that, and then like I when I was in the hotel room, I like turned it on and kind of was listening in the background, and dude, it was wild. And I'm like, do they have no other story? Is this literally the only thing that they can talk about and hype up? And it just kind of got me thinking. And on my personal X account, I did tweet about this, and I said, I don't understand why they're obsessed with Shedeur. Like, it's just so weird to me. It's a preseason game. They're facing the Panthers, which are, no hate for North Carolina, but they're just not a good team. The Panthers last year were horrible. They were one of the worst teams, and I don't know, like, I can show you, a couple of the images here that I'm referring to, but I wanna hear, number 1, your thoughts because he got the start where 2 of the 4 quarterbacks there are hurt, and so it's like, it's him and Joe Flacco. Well, they're not gonna play their starter, Joe Flacco. So, what do you make of this situation? And I can pull up some of the images I was referring to here.
I think that everything about him has been overhyped for years. You date back to his college days, playing against, I don't want to say nobody schools because that kind of minimizes some of the other conferences, but not playing against the top teams in the league and still having a very kind of average overall record throughout his college career.
Yeah.
What was his record? Wasn't it like 12 and 14 or 13 and or something like that? I mean, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
He was in the Heisman talks, but he didn't I don't think he ever even won a bowl game.
No.
Um, but yeah, I mean, he was constantly being hyped up like crazy his entire career, especially his last year.
Yeah.
Whenever he had a teammate who clearly outshined him the whole season, and for some reason he was still in conversations to be a Heisman. I mean, it didn't make sense to me then. It doesn't make sense to me now. Look at the draft day. Everybody was glazing him on draft day, saying, "Oh, he could even go first overall. He's that good."
Mhm.
He didn't even go. He was like 144th pick or something. He was in the fifth round. I mean, at the end of the day, the media is hyping this guy up in a way that they don't hype up athletes very frequently. It's kind of unheard of for an athlete to be hyped up this much for the league and for the owners and managers to kind of be like, no, like you're not going to fool us with your media hype. Like you're going to go in the fifth round.
Yeah.
He's now a fourth string quarterback and being talked about as if he's like the next Cam Newton or Andrew Luck, and it's kind of insane to me because those guys did win Heismans and did go to like national championship games and actually had great success in the NFL. To be determined if he has any success in the NFL, but he's proven nothing to get the hype that he's getting at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, just look at this. This is from Nike. What? Like, dude, Nike is putting out Only a Matter of Time. I'm like, "Come on, man." Like, we don't have any other athletes on the roster. What is your reaction to this?
I mean, it's a photo from a preseason football game. I think that you should take everything that happens in the preseason with a grain of salt. I think that is an enormous overreaction. Not only was he playing against the Panthers, but he wasn't even playing against the best Panthers that they can offer, right? This is a preseason game where many starters don't even play. So what are we doing with this type of a graphic?
Here's the other one. This one killed me. This I think
Dude,
this might have been the first one I saw, but I was like, Shedeur Sanders put on a show in his preseason debut, and he's doing, like, the Tiger Woods, like, yeah, I'm like, okay, like, he had okay stats. I mean, it's not like he threw, like, 10 picks, but he played against the Panthers, like, 5th string. I'm just like, "Why are you even posting this? Like, are you that desperate for content?" It's wild, man. I have never I have never seen media cover an athlete that, like you said, is like a 4th string quarterback? There's what is this? Are we in a simulation?
it makes no sense to me, man. I mean, it's like when the media was talking about like, oh, he had the most passing touchdowns and the voluntary OTAs in an offseason of all time, and it's like, what? Like, what are we reporting on? Like, can we just wait till the regular season starts to start making these insanely bold claims? Because none of this matters.
Yeah,
None
and
of this will translate into regular season success.
well, did you see Adam Schefter's, tweet or whatever on X about the depth chart? I think he literally just
Yeah.
posted it yesterday evening.
He's the only one that's keeping it real right now. What did he say?
He pretty much said, "Here's Cleveland's second depth chart, and here's how the Browns are listing their QBs: Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, Sanders."
Yeah, so Sanders is fourth there, and that doesn't even include Deshaun Watson on that list.
So, I
You would imagine he would be higher, which means that Sanders is probably actually their 5th string quarterback.
I honestly forgot that Deshaun Watson was on their team. I'm not gonna lie until you just said that.
Yeah. So imagine he's probably number 1 or 2 on that list, and then all of a sudden Sanders is now a 5th string quarterback who's getting all of this coverage from the media, and everyone else in the league is not getting that coverage. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, dude, some I just looked at the comments to Schefter's thing. Someone said, "I laugh at all the people that think Sanders should start. He had one game against a bunch of future State Farm insurance agents." The comments are outrageous on this one. I have to if anybody has X, look up Adam Schefter and you'll see. It's very entertaining.
Not the State Farm insurance agents.
Oh my gosh. Alright, you got the next one.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun, what in the spirit of what we just talked about, to kind of highlight some other way too soon reactions to rookies playing in the preseason. So the first one was who the guy we think should have won the Heisman last year, Ashton Jeanty, in his preseason debut, 3 carries, -1 yards in his debut.
Mm.
Should we be panicking for him? And I am kind of serious about this follow-up question. First of all, I don't think we should be panicking. I think Ashton Jeanty's just fine. But is there a legitimate concern about him running behind the Raiders' offensive line? I think that's the actual question that we should maybe be asking here. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the challenges of getting drafted in a high pick, right? Or one of the first top 10 picks is generally speaking, unless a team did a trade, you're gonna be playing for a trash team, so, like, the Raiders are not good. We already know they're not good, so I don't really expect Genty to come in and just, come I mean, I don't think he's gonna completely just change them into a winning team overnight. They gotta continue to build and, maybe it is offensive line, QB, etcetera, like, they gotta mesh, right? So yeah, he had a disappointing first game, so, I mean, preseason's preseason. I think let's wait and see what ends up happening in the season, and, yeah, I mean, he might struggle this first year, like, the Raiders are not good, so I don't know that
Mhm.
even if he is an all-star player, he still might struggle. If you don't have blocking, it's hard to run the ball.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is that it was literally only 3 carries, and one of them was for 4 yards. So he did lose yards the second and third carry, but like it's an N of 3 in a preseason game. And I will continuously say that preseason does not matter. It doesn't translate to regular season success. This is just a way to get some repetitions in against a real team. One thing that was really interesting from that game, Geno Smith is the quarterback now for the Raiders, and this game was in Seattle. And have you seen the images of him flipping off the crowd
Yeah,
for his former team, the team
I
he played
did.
for last year?
Yep, I did. That was
It
wild.
was kind of hard. It was kind of badass, but also like, dang man, like you just left there like a few months ago, and you're flipping off the crowd there already. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just gotta make sure they know where he's at now.
Yeah, let's do another way too soon overreaction for preseason rookies.
Yeah.
This one on the opposite side of things, although I do think this guy will be an absolute stud. But we had Abdul Carter, defensive player for the Giants. You and I both predicted that he would have a really great NFL career when we talked about rookie impact earlier this offseason.
Mhm.
He played, I think, only 3 plays as well. And he was lined up against the Pro Bowl left tackle, Deion Dawkins. So he's up against a guy who's a proven left tackle, and on 3 plays, he generated pressure on the quarterback all 3 times, which is kind of crazy to think about that going up against an all-star player, a Pro Bowler. And I think the thing that really stood out, and analysts have kind of talked about this, is not really how dynamic he is because we already knew that, but they were surprised at how powerful he was rushing, especially going up against a Pro Bowl tackle. So he could be even better than we think that he might be. But again, too soon to react. It is just the preseason. But again, going up against a Pro Bowl tackle, it's not a bad first impression for Abdul Carter.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, that guy's a beast. Like, there's no that's one where there's no doubt, right? Like, I'm not guessing, like, is this guy, gonna be reasonable or is he like does he have the potential? It's, does he continue to put in the work? And does he not go down a bad pathway in terms of like making wrong decisions or bad decisions outside of football or that sort of thing? But no surprise to me. I think you're going to continue to see more of this. barring injury. So,
Yeah, and I'm rooting for that guy. That's one I want to see succeed.
yeah, for sure. All right, so the next one is a player story, a little more on the humorous side, but we kind of have some fun questions and things we want to talk about. So there's a story out there that's circulating with Oklahoma quarterback, and he apparently, I guess somebody must have gone through. The guy's name is John Mateer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Someone circulating his Venmo transaction. So I don't know how people are, this deep into the weeds, but essentially it's a picture, and I can show it real quick here. Um, where there's allegations that where you do like the little description in Venmo of what you're paying for. Um, he put in here, here's the image. This was also a few years ago. Sports gambling, and then he has UCLA versus USC, and then it just says sports gambling. So people are freaking out about this. There's kind of like, well, you're not allowed to bet on sports, especially if you're an athlete. And so there's been a lot of different reactions to it. I think, Scott, you maybe had a statement or something that he made about this. What did he say?
Yeah, yeah, he came out and addressed this, and I won't read the whole thing, but it starts out saying, the allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never bet on sports. And then he kind of goes on to talk about the seriousness of gambling and double down again that he's never actually done that. And, this is just a crazy story, man. First of all, like you just found this guy on Venmo, you looked him up. What I would be curious about is what is the guy who he sent that to? What does his Venmo look like? Because if this guy's like a bookie, then he might be receiving stuff like crazy that's talking about sports gambling, which could be more incriminating. But this was from 2022, man. I mean, come on, what are we doing? We're looking up people's Venmo accounts from 2022 to try and get them in trouble. Like, what is the world that we're living in here, man? Like, yes, that would be bad. But I have also sent inaccurate descriptions in my Venmos to my friends before. And it's just a fun, like he said, it's an inside joke. It's a way to make a funny joke
Yeah.
that like is harmless. It really doesn't matter. What This will probably get investigated, but should it? I don't think so. This seems like a joke. The specifics of like the two teams involved in a game might make it look a little bit worse. But it also could have been like this guy sitting in a living room with his buddy, and it's the fourth quarter of a close game, and he's like, "I bet you $5 that UCLA wins," and then he loses the bet, and he Venmos the dude $5, right? Like this doesn't mean that he's like, "Oh, I got $100 on UCLA at minus 210 odds." Like that's different in my mind.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? That's my opinion on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of a broader question. Do you think that sports betting, or should players be allowed to bet on sports, or are there parameters like if you play football, can you bet on basketball or other sports, or can you not? Maybe you can just not bet on your sport. Like, what are your thoughts in general on that? Because obviously that's a pretty controversial topic.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are what you just said. I think that if you play a sport, you should not be able to bet on that particular sport at the level in which you play it. So let's say you're a college athlete playing football. You should not be able to bet on college football. You can bet on pro. I don't think there's anything wrong if they bet on pro. Gambling is becoming more and more a part of our society. It's becoming more legalized. It's becoming more regular. And if a college player bets on a pro game, I don't think that affects anything. Just like if a pro player bets on a college team, I don't think that really affects a whole lot either, unless they have a direct relationship where they're like mentoring these kids or like somehow associated with the success of the team. But yeah, I mean, if an NFL player is betting on NBA games or hockey or whatever, like who gives a shit? Like, what are they going to do to affect the outcome of those games? I think that it should really only matter if you can directly impact the outcome of the game, because then it's obviously like illegal, right?
Yeah. Well, I think some people would say, is that really hard to trace, right? So, like, let's say you're a college football player and you put a bet on the Super Bowl or whatever. Like, let's just say it's an NFL game, for example, or an NBA game. Well, is there really a way that you could trade? Like, let's say that player does know one of the players somehow, okay, informally, whatever. They met them, they interact with them, etc. I mean, Obviously, investigation and all that stuff would bring to light if anything were to come about, but it's an interesting question, right? Because it's like, if a college football quarterback went out and was like, "Hey, I'm buddies with this guy that's in the NBA," like, what's the chances he's gonna be like, "Hey, can you, like, blow this game tonight so that I can win money on my bet?" Like, I'm not saying the chances are 0, but, I mean, is it really gonna be that way? I don't know. I do agree with your point that it should be at different levels and different sports. Like,
Mhm.
if you're college, maybe NFL, I don't know, maybe even just different sports, is fair. Like, different sports, different levels. So, like, you can bet on NBA if you're a football player in college, but maybe, I don't know, NFL can be, I see your point, but maybe then people could make that weird tie to, like, who, this is my mentor or whatever. I know the players in the league. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but realistically, like, how much money would you have to bet to convince somebody to throw a game? You're not gonna have to convince someone to win a game. We're
Yeah.
all competitors going out to try and win on purpose, right? So you would have to bet enough money to convince them to not to try to lose on purpose
Yeah.
for it to actually matter. How
Well,
much
uh,
I don't know.
wh
That just seems so questionable
what
to
I
me.
was gonna say is the only difference now is maybe that because some players actually have way more money with NIL. So, are they willing to bet more money? Because, like, if you're, like, a poor college football player, no, like, you don't have a ton of like, your wagers are not even gonna be worth it to an NFL player or whoever to
Right.
influence them, but, hey, man, you get a $5 million NIL deal and you wanna bet 100 grand and you can, give that player a cut. I don't know, I mean, does an NFL player really care that much? Like, they make millions of dollars, so, again,
And they also have incentives built into their contracts typically, right?
yeah,
So if they're gonna throw games, they're gonna lose incentive dollars.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't think it's as big of a deal as I'm making it. I'm just saying, like, it'd be kinda hard to trace unless there was investigations, so it's kinda interesting.
yeah. And it's a rabbit hole and there's a lot of things to consider. But my overall takeaway from it is that if it's a different sport or a different level, I don't care personally.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
But there was another funny story with, Texas quarterback too.
Yeah, you mentioned the NIL, which is perfect to kind of tee this up, but I guess people are in the Venmo search history type of mood today, and people have found Arch Manning allegedly on Venmo as well. And someone actually requested $50 from him, and the description of the request said, "Please, you have NIL money," asking him for 50 bucks. And the biggest takeaway of this story here is that Arch Manning actually took the time to go in and deny the request instead of just like ignoring it. And so that the guy was like, "Yeah, I requested 50 bucks from Arch Manning and got denied." Like, and people were just laughing about that.
Wow, that's
But
hilarious.
the funny thing about that, and I'm not going to go too into the depths here because it's just a similar talk to what we just had. But people are now finding funny things about Arch Manning's Venmo as well. And I don't know if this is 100% true. There's so many troll accounts out there that report on these things.
Yeah.
But apparently saying things like butt stuff and THC in some of his descriptions as well, and I don't know. Who knows? I don't know for a fact if that's real. I literally just saw that right before we started recording and didn't get a chance to verify it, but why are we searching people's Venmo histories, man?
Yeah.
This is weird. Let's not be
No,
weird.
he's a college kid. I mean, he's gonna have weird shit in his Venmo. Um, so the next one was, unfortunately, a pretty tragic event in the Lions, versus Falcons, right? Preseason?
The preseason games. Oops. Yeah, it was the Lions.
Yeah, so Lions, Falcons, there's a cornerback named Maurice Norris, who was pretty brutally injured, unfortunately. It was a freak accident. It wasn't something where, like, someone did something on purpose, but basically, from the video I saw, he came in to make a tackle on someone running the ball. His head was in a very weird spot, near the individual's knee that was running the ball, and unfortunately, knee went right to head, and his head just kinda, had a very bad impact moment, and so he was frozen on the ground, I think laying on his side is kinda what I recall, and then unfortunately, it looked like he was kinda starting to have a seizure, so I saw his
Mhm.
legs and all that, so just it's kind of honestly generally one of those tragic moments where you're like, "Man, this sucks," like, football's a violent sport, it doesn't always seem that way until somebody really gets hurt like that, and then it kinda makes you be like, "Oh, man, this is," these things unfortunately can happen, and it's a side effect of playing the game this way, but, um, there was something really cool that happened, and when I say cool, I think it was more of like a, kinda human nature, humanity thing, but what happened during that game, Scott?
Yeah, and I didn't watch the game live, but, the reports that I've read are just it is a really cool kinda human nature thing, like you said. Basically, after this happened, it was right after the 4th quarter had begun. I think there was, like, 14 and a half minutes left in the game or something like that, and, I guess the coaches, Dan Campbell and, I think it's Raheem Morris was the coach for the Falcons.
Mhm.
They kinda came together and they were just like, "Yeah, we're not gonna, like, finish this game." Like, that was a serious injury. Everyone just saw that. Everyone's shaken up. We don't need to finish this meaningless preseason football game. And I guess the referee who was in conversation with the NFL headquarters in New York was like, "We have to finish the game." And so the coaches agreed that they were just going to they didn't want to finish the game. So then they basically just decided to take kneels back and forth and not actually run any plays. And I didn't see this, but what I read was that then after doing the kneel thing for a while, that one of the teams just like snapped the ball, and then all 22 players, the 11 from each side, just like stood in a circle and just started like talking to each other in the middle of the field.
Mhm.
And they never finished the play. Like nobody got tackled or anything like that. And then I guess the referees then came in and said they got a call from the NFL that the game was suspended, and then they ended the game. But it's just one of those rare football stories where humanity is bigger than the game, and it really showed through. And yeah, it's a lot easier to do that in a preseason game whenever things really don't matter, like I've been saying all podcast long. But
Yeah.
it was just kind of cool to see that two coaches came together. They made that mutual decision. They were told they couldn't end the game, and so they found kind of a workaround to still kind of fall within the rules, even though it was basically just ending the game. And kind of just like I said, putting the human life that and the event that they just saw above the game of football. And I just don't think we see a lot of that in life anymore. It was just kind of a nice show of sportsmanship in a game that really didn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was definitely special. It was taking a step back and realizing like, "Hey, we're playing this game that is for competition and fun and entertainment, but somebody seriously got hurt, and, it was a very unfortunate event that happened." And, obviously, I don't think that, like, this is the norm that, they should cancel every game every time somebody gets hurt, but this was, like, one of those weird scenarios where it was pretty serious, and you didn't really know what was gonna happen with this person. I mean, I've seen plays where guys have gone down in not similar ways, but kinda like similar injury types, and, they can't walk ever again, or they have a pretty severe, like, spinal injury, like, I mean, you really never know right there on the field unless the person gets up and walks or, is conscious that, like, okay, maybe they have a better chance of being okay, but he didn't look like he was doing okay, and I think they all realized that, and yeah, like you said, it was, I think, a really nice moment for the NFL and just in general, these 2 teams.
Yes, you don't see a lot of that these days,
Yeah.
where people put just regular life above the game.
So, changing topics here. Last part of this segment is just some relevant news because we did cover and I think we talked a little bit about PGA Tour, FedEx Cup, the playoffs. We gave some picks last week, some guys that we thought to watch, and so we did have an event this past weekend that was a pretty important one. I know you were very in tune to it because of fantasy golf playoffs. I was not as in tune, but I did keep up with just kind of general like what was happening, and I know we were texting as I was on the road. So Justin Rose ends up winning a three-hole playoff versus JJ Spawn, and had a pretty incredible run there where there was a pretty tight leaderboard at the end. So, what did you see this past weekend from your observations?
Well, I mean, Justin Rose was behind Fleetwood, I think, coming into day 3 and day 4. He was in the mix. But early on Sunday, he kind of fell behind where it looked like he was kind of going to be out of it. It looked like it was going to be a race between Fleetwood, Spawn, and Sheffield, and then there were a couple other people right behind. But Rose kind of lost his. He was very close, and he kind of almost lost how close he was. And then coming down the back nine or the second nine, he hit 4 birdies in a row, which was fantastic. Obviously that brought him right back into it to go, 4 under in 4 holes. And then all of a sudden he was tied with Spawn and Fleetwood wasn't in the lead anymore. And Fleetwood had been in the lead the entire weekend. Like literally from Thursday, he never lost the lead the entire time. Fleetwood, you want to talk about Fleetwood or do you have anything to add to Rose?
Um, I'll talk a little bit about Rose. Let's start there, and then I have an image I want to show of some heartbreak for Fleetwood. But so I saw this. I'll start with number one. Yeah, I just thought it was a very interesting finish overall with all the guys that were bunched up. You definitely called Scotty Scheffler Sheffield, by the way. I just wanted to just wanted to point that out. But I was like, wait a second. But there was a post on X by this guy named Jamie Kennedy is his name on X here. That's his handle. He had a really interesting thread. He talked about what happened that those last few holes. He said Justin Rose made an aggressive last minute strategy change on Sunday and he walked away with the win. And so it's a thread post. So I'm not going to go through every single detail, but essentially what he said was, when he got to the 12th hole, he was +1 for the day and he was, I think, 3 shots back from the lead. So he had, they said, a 3.2% chance to win. So that's like super slim. But he ended up, getting those birdies as you mentioned, and went on essentially a super long birdie streak. It was his longest of the season. And so the interesting part that he said was the when you looked at the 18th hole, they gave some statistics in here that if you hit the fairway, the average score was 3.8. So you were likely to be right around there. But if you missed it certain ways, like if you were to miss it to the left, I believe there's water on that side, and on the right there was some sand. That your average score then rose to 4.44. So there's like a drastic difference in the scoring on if you hit the fairway versus not. And so basically, what he ended up doing was um, using the yardages. Like I think he said his average drive is a 301 yards approximately based on what he's been hitting. There was that water to the left, and so the risk that he could have taken or and did take was, can he hit it past the water? Basically to try to shortcut because it was a dog leg left hole, and he was
Mm.
saying, like, if he can get it over the water successfully and get it into the fairway and kinda cut some of that distance there, then he can, if he plays it basically aggressively, then, he has a chance to win. And so why did he, like, the same thing kinda kept happening in the playoff because they kept playing 18, and basically they said, like, yeah, I mean, he carried it 326, the first time I think he hit it. And essentially that was the differentiator, was he changed a little bit of his strategy, and instead of being less aggressive, he was more aggressive, and it paid off, ultimately to win the playoff.
Did you see the hit that he did where it just barely made it over the water,
Yep.
like by just a couple of feet, and then it bounced straight up and straight down and just stayed there for him, thankfully?
Yeah, that was the game changer right there. He was almost in the water, so he's almost screwed.
Yeah, when he went to hit his second shot, he was trying to line it up and he almost fell backwards into the water just trying to line up his practice shot. But then when he actually hit the ball, it landed like right next to the hole. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and so that slight difference of where he put it there and then some of the other shots, that was the difference because he was so aggressive that he had essentially, I think they said it was like, what was the distance? So from for where he ended up hitting it most of those times, he was like within about 100 yards to the hole. And so most guys are either really good or not from that distance in the pros. I mean, relatively, right? Like they can be pretty killer from 100 yards or some guys struggle, but he's one that I think is pretty good with the club choice there. So
Yeah, and it's just kind of crazy. I mean, he went on that 4 birdie streak where he hit 4 in a row. And then I think on the 18, the first time, like in regulation, he parred. And I think in the first playoff, he parred on
mhm.
18. But then he birdied twice in a row again after that. So
Yep.
it's like he hit like 6 birdies in what, like 8 holes? Like that's insane,
Yeah, that's wild.
especially right there in the final stretch.
Yep, insane. And I know we were going to go back to Tommy Fleetwood, so poor guy, is all I can say. Just a heartbreak. I know we talked about it in our single barrel picks as a guy to watch, for FedEx Cup in general. And I know you were rooting for him. You picked him for the playoffs. And man, the guy just can't get a break. He just keeps coming in. I think these are like all the events that he's come in second or third over the
Mhm.
past few years, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I think is it 42 now that I might have read 42 top 10s now without a win, which
Yeah.
is just like, and it is the most all out of all active golfers. But the crazy thing about this one, and it's just hard to believe, as especially as a guy who was watching him for 4 days and rooting for him for 4 days, he came into the 16th hole with a 2-stroke lead. Think about that. He only had 3 holes left to play, and he was up by 2.
Yep.
He bogeyed, and then he bogeyed 17, which would have put him tied. But Spawn and Rose had both birdied in that span. So all of a sudden, he was a stroke behind coming into 18. So
Yeah.
let's just really let that sink in. 2-stroke lead on 16. 2 holes go by. It's not that he's even after 2 holes. He's now behind by a stroke. It was a 3-stroke swing and only 2 holes.
Yeah. That's rough, man.
And then he parred 18, and he didn't make up that stroke that he needed. He parred 18.
Yeah. Just
Just really, it's hard to believe. Just really crazy stuff.
heartbreaking too. Like you want him to win. It's just one of those where like you're like, come on, this guy's got to win. He comes in second or third every time. Like he's bound to win one, and then he just gets screwed. But he'll get one. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if his first win is a major. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like because there's been so much like build up. And he does play pretty well in a lot of the majors. I wouldn't be surprised if you see his first win come at something like that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So,
And I might have had that math wrong. It might have only been 1 bogey and not 2 bogeys, but the other guys were birdieing.
uh,
So either way, it was a 3-stroke swing and only 2 holes, which is just insane to think about, especially that close to the end.
yeah.
And then to come into 16 up by 2 and then to go into 18 down by 1, that has to be so demoralizing.
Oh,
I can't even imagine the mental that would take on you.
yeah, for sure. All right. I think we're ready to get into some fan favorites, which are our new term for some interactive segments. So for those of you listening and or watching, we're going to have some fun stuff where you can play along at home or, feel free to kind of guess along as we go. But we're introducing a new one here, Scott, and this is one I think I kind of told you a little bit about, and I wanted to test to pilot this on you. So you're going to be the contestant tonight, and if we like it and we get good feedback, maybe we can run it back, and you can put me through the ringer.
I'm nervous.
All right. So the only thing I'm going to ask is that well, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to give you clues. But basically, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to show you two pictures. One of them is going to have two athletes, and one of them is going to have one athlete. And I'm going to give you some clues, and you have to do your best to try to guess who those athletes are. So they're going to be blacked out. Like you'll see, it's like you can still like see the shape of their body, but you don't
Mhm.
necessarily know who it is right away. And
Okay.
maybe some will be easier than others, but that's essentially going to be how we play. So let me pull up the first one here, and we'll get going. So give me 1 second. All right, you ready?
I don't think so, but let's do this.
All right, here is your first image. Uh, all right. Tell me if you can see this. You good?
Yeah, I can see this.
Okay. Any guesses before I give you clues?
Um, maybe, but I'm gonna wait. Let's
Okay.
this is basketball. Looks like, right?
Could be. All
I
right.
just feel like with the jerseys they're wearing.
Maybe. The first athlete was in first overall pick in the 2002 NBA draft. And he never played college, or he never played US college basketball. Okay. So that's the
Uh,
first athlete. I have more clues too, so I can continue to read them unless you think
well,
you
hold
know.
on, because I think you just gave me a big clue.
Okay.
Because you said he never played U.S. college basketball.
So he played basketball, but he did not play. He was the first pick without playing US college basketball.
All right, and this is not LeBron. I can tell from the image. I think he was a year later anyway. I think he started in '03.
So he is the only player in NBA history to be voted an all-star starter every season he played. After well, hold on, let me read you this other one. His rookie 2002 rookie matchup against another player was one of the most watched games in NBA history.
I don't know what that means, but is this is this Shaq on the right in this photo? I feel like it's Shaq, and this other guy's taller than him. It's got to be Yao Ming. Is this right? Am I right?
Is that your final answer?
I don't know who else it would be, especially because you said they didn't play college in the US. I feel like it's gotta be Yao Ming. He was huge back in the early 2000s.
All right, you ready for the reveal?
I
Final answers?
I hope so. Yeah. I don't know who else. Oh, I was right. Let's go.
Yep. Yao Ming
Dude,
and Shaq.
I was looking at his hair and I was like, dude, that's definitely not like a normal haircut. Like it's very distinct.
Yeah.
And the other guy was like, that's Shaq's shape for sure.
Shaq's shape. Hell yeah.
It's not Shake Shack, it's Shaq's shape.
Oh my god. All right. Well, there you go. You got the first one. So we're 1-0 so far. You're 2-0, I guess, technically. Let's see if you can get the second one.
All
Let me
right.
pull this one up here for you. All right. Here's the second one. Okay.
WWE.
Okay.
Oh, dude, I already know who this is just from the pose.
You don't want any clues?
You can give me your clues. I'm pretty sure I already know exactly who this is.
All right, here. I'll give the clues for those that are listening and watching, and then you can
Yeah,
see if
I'll wait till the end and then make my prediction.
all right, we'll see if it validates it. This person is a 12-time world champion across WWF, WWE, and WCW. They starred in movies like No Holds Bars and Mr. Nanny. They were a bass guitarist in a rock band. They're famous for their 24-inch pythons. They appeared in Rocky 3 as a character named Thunderlips. It's a wrestler who fought Rocky in a charity match. And in Japan, they were known for using an axe bomber lariat as their finishing move instead of the leg drop.
Well, I wouldn't have known that actually. But this is Hulk Hogan, brother.
All right. Final answer?
Yeah, I mean the pose, dude, is definitely a Hulk Hogan flexing pose. I already know. I know that pose.
All right. We'll see.
Especially I know he played bass guitar. I know that he was in the Mr. Nanny movie. Yeah, it's definitely Hulk Hogan, no question about it.
Okay, you ready for the reveal?
Sure, let's see it. Let's go. And it's the NWO Hulk Hogan. All right.
Yeah. There it is, brother. You got it right. I mean, I feel like maybe this one hopefully was more obvious. I mean, the other one was like you said, once you kind of caught on, but
I think the Pythons would have gave it away too.
yeah.
I mean, he's the only one that I feel like in WWE that they call it like the Pythons.
Yep.
But yeah, man, dude, that's just a classic Hulk Hogan pose. I feel like people have tried to replicate it, but no one does it like he did it.
Yeah. And I think I don't remember if I told you this, but I am going to be dressed like that version of him this coming weekend because I'm going to a music festival. So that's
Oh man.
my outfit of choice as a commemorative to his career, and obviously RIP since he passed away. So I figured I would select a unique character of his, which I feel like that one's the most unique.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I wish I could go to the festival. I know what you're talking about, but you know, I
Yep,
don't live there anymore.
no problem. All right, you're up next.
Cool. So what we have next is, and this was actually submitted by Jordan, who has been on the podcast a couple of times doing some football talk and was here for the Wimbledon episode. But he sent me a text the other night, and he's in my actual like dynasty, my home dynasty league, my primary league. And he was like, "Who do you think would say no between this trade?" And it was some of my players and then one of the commissioner's players. And I was like, "Dude, that would be a fun podcast segment. If you send me a list of these types of who says no ideas, then we'll do them on the podcast and we'll see what people think."
Hmm.
And so I'm going to give these to you, Deeb, but I want people who are listening to kind of follow along too.
Okay.
And before we go too in depth with this, these are actual potential trades in my actual dynasty league that I play in.
Hmm.
And for those who have never played in a dynasty fantasy football league before, you keep your players year after year. You don't have to redraft your team. You only draft the new rookies that come into the league.
Yeah.
And so whenever we could talk about these trades, think about keeping these players for their entire career potentially, or being able to trade them for that value of their career. Don't think about it for only being for one season. So the title of the segment is "Who Says No?" So what side would you be on? And again, we'll pose the question to you, Deeb, for the podcast, but I would love for people to kind of chime in on some of their thoughts with these trades,
Hmm.
especially this first one. So who says no? Would you trade Lamar Jackson for Jalen Hurts and Terry McLaurin? Who says no to that trade?
So do you want a no for like which side, or what if the answer is yes?
Yeah, I mean, so which side would you fall on? Which side do you think would be the best?
Lamar Jackson for Jalen Hurts and Scary Terry. Um, I think I'd probably rather have Lamar Jackson, because I know that Scary Terry has some question marks right now, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if he's like holding out or, I mean, I know he's had some weird stuff going on in the preseason. I know some of that can get resolved, but I'm not making the decision just based on that. But I think, I don't know, Lamar Jackson's just wild. Like he's literally almost in the MVP discussion or wins it every year, and he gives you rushing yards and passing yards. Like Jalen Hurts does too, and maybe he gives you the touchdown, so I could see that part. But I think I don't know. I would honestly be if I could get Lamar Jackson if I was on the other side, that's what I would pick.
You know what? I have Lamar Jackson in this league, and so I'm on that side too. And it did make me really think about would I make that trade.
Yeah.
But like you, I think I would keep Lamar. And there's a really good dynasty fantasy trade calculator out there called Fantasy Calc.
Mm.
And so I ran this through the trade calculator, and it assigns value on each player and then adds it up for each side of the trade.
Oh,
And the value on this one is it's 9,650 for Lamar versus 9,677 for Hurts and McLaurin, which is a super narrow trade.
wow.
Usually there's a gap between like hundreds of points or even thousands of points sometimes. So definitely could go either way on that. I think it just is your preference, but
Yeah.
I have Lamar and I like the idea of keeping him for several years to come. So I think I would be on that side too.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't one where it was definitely one versus the other. Like I could definitely see both. So I think that the scoring on there is accurate to how I felt as I was thinking
Yeah,
through it.
absolutely. All right. This next one is maybe going to be a little harder or maybe not. You can tell me. And again, thank you for Jordan for submitting these because these are really tough questions to ask. But in a dynasty league, would you rather, on this side of the trade, would you rather have Jamar Chase or Puka Nakua and Trevion Henderson?
Hmm. Was Puka Nacua hurt last year?
He was injured for a few games last year, yeah.
Okay. Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, this one is tough because, I mean, Chase is still younger. He's not that old. He has a pretty high ceiling. He's got a great QB. Nakua's young. Obviously got hurt. Henderson, we haven't really seen much. I mean, I know he returned the kick, whatever. Didn't he return a kickoff or something on the like
Yeah, he did in
preseason
his first
game? But
play. Mhm.
I don't know enough about him, right? And that's kind of like where the risk of I think for dynasty is like picking the rookies, right? To figure out like are they going to be good or not. But I think I stick with Jamar Chase. Like I think he's super reliable. He's young. You know he's going to get the ball as long as he doesn't get hurt. I like he's just cash. So there's some question marks with Henderson. Nakua's pretty good, but I don't know. Henderson's like could be a bust. Who knows?
Yeah, I would stick with Chase as well. Like you said, I think if for no other reason, the situation he's in, they have a bad defense, a great quarterback. He's going to keep scoring points. He was the Triple Crown winner last year. Stafford's not getting any younger. I think the Rams are not going to be as good on the offense moving forward. And Travion looks like a very solid running back for the future, but we haven't seen enough to trade away a Jamar Chase for him, in my opinion.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention, just as a, one thing to consider is I would have to like also evaluate for these what is on my team and my needs, right?
Yep,
So that's kind of the missing
100%.
element here because I'm thinking through like, okay, well, do I need a running back, or is my league thin on running back? So realistically, that's how I would probably add the evaluation in here. But this is more like, like you said, it's like kind of a face value thing.
Yeah, and it is tough to figure that out just on a whim, like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
The calculator did line slightly with Jamar Chase just by 100 or 200 points. It was very close. This next one here is a little bit more of I think probably a situational trade. It might depend on if you're a competitor right now or if you're maybe in a rebuild stage or somewhere in the middle. So try and just kind of take all accounts into, your mind here. But in a dynasty fantasy football league, if the trade was offered, would you rather have AJ Brown, a 2026 first round draft pick, and a 2026 second round draft pick, or CD Lamb?
I did have CD Lamb a few years ago, and he was buck wild. That was like the year he went crazy. A lot of his stuff depends on is Dak Prescott healthy, unfortunately. Like, and that is always the big question mark there. If he's healthy, then yeah, the guy is nuts. But I mean, I don't know if I can continue to rely on Dak Prescott in the future. So I don't know. I think for this one, I'm probably taking my chances going with AJ Brown. Maybe he's not as good, but I'm planning for the future, thinking ahead 2026 first rounder, 2026 second rounder. Hopefully the guy that's trading this is trash and I get a reasonable rookie or two out of it for the future.
Yeah, and this one is kind of a landslide on the calculator. By 900 points, it prefers the CD Lamb side of the trade. But
Wow.
I'm with you. I actually probably would rather have Brown in the picks because we don't know what we're going to get with Dak coming back from an injury. And also, we've added George Pickens now to that Cowboys team. And so basically, what that tells me is they might not get quite as many forced passes to CD Lamb because they actually have another talented wide receiver on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, they threw the ball to CD so much these last couple of years because he hasn't really had a lot of help. So I don't buy it that it's going to be that way this year. We'll see how it goes, but I probably would keep I would probably keep the AJ and the picks on that side as well.
Yeah. Or George Pickens will be fighting some DB down the field. So
Well, yeah, we hope so anyway, because that's comedy.
yeah.
All right, this one will be a simpler trade: Chase Brown or Jonathan Taylor
Chase
in
Brown.
a dynasty league. Chase Brown in
Yeah.
a dynasty league.
That one's easy for me.
I agree with you, and I have Chase Brown. However, the value is actually siding by 465 with JT, but I just don't see it, especially on a team that is going to have some offensive struggles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it either.
I mean, if
Okay,
Jonathan Taylor gets traded to another team that's reasonable, like, he could be really good. I just feel like he's in a bad situation.
that's true.
So,
All right, last one for you. In a dynasty football league, would you rather have Omarion Hampton and a 2026 second round pick or T. Higgins and a 2026 first round pick?
Um, does T. Higgins still play for the Bengals? I'm trying to remember.
Yep, he just got a contract extension. He's going to be there for several years.
Okay. Again, a lot of this just depends on team needs. So, like, if I absolutely needed a running back, maybe I'd pick Hampton. But just because of the unknown, I don't know if he's going to be good. I know T. Higgins is established, and I get a first round pick. I'm probably going to pick that.
Okay. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That was a pretty close one. It actually favors the Hampton side, but only by 265. And again, that's just one calculator.
Yeah.
There are multiple calculators. They do vary a little bit between them.
Yep.
But those are hopefully not super easy choices to make there when you consider dynasty football leagues and how fun and difficult it can be to make trades that will have long lasting impacts. And hopefully that was a fun segment. I appreciate Jordan
Yep.
for submitting those. I think these are fun things to talk about.
No, yeah, that was good. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that as well. And yeah, it kind of just gets the juices flowing for fantasy. So it gets me more excited to think through, who you want to draft and whatnot. So yeah, that was a good one. Um, I think so. Last week we did the segment this or that. So we're revisiting this because we can't go without doing a college football conference champion one. And we're only going to do really like whatever you want to call it, the Power Four. So it's not going to be every single conference. So each of us will get two of them. So I'll let you pick which of the conferences do you want to have out of the four we have listed.
Well, I won't choose the two big ones. So let me take the SEC and then I'll do, I guess, the ACC and we'll just alternate.
Okay. So then I'll do Big 10 and Big 12.
Yep. Let's do
Okay.
that.
All right. So you ready for SEC?
Yeah. Give me the SEC. Let's go.
All right. So this or that. So we're going to narrow it down by team, and you tell me which team over the other would you pick in these matchups for the conference championship of the SEC? So first up, we have Tennessee, Arkansas,
Tennessee.
Tennessee, Texas A&M,
Ooh. A&M.
A&M or Florida,
Florida, for sure.
Florida or Texas,
Texas.
Texas or Alabama.
Call me crazy, man, but I'm going to go with Bama here.
Ooh, Alabama or LSU.
Just because I don't really like Alabama and I think these teams are very close, I'm going to go LSU here.
LSU or your boys in Mizzou.
It's got to be LSU.
LSU or the Oklahoma Sooners.
Well, their quarterback's going to be suspended for gambling, non playing, but give me LSU. Anyway, I'll take LSU regardless.
LSU or the Gamecocks.
LSU.
LSU or the Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia. Georgia.
Ooh, Georgia or Mississippi.
SEC champions, Georgia.
All right, you heard it here first. Georgia Bulldogs.
All right. Let's hit Big Ten here. I'm going to start with Iowa or Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Okay. Cornhuskers, Nebraska or Minnesota.
Nebraska.
Nebraska or Washington.
Nebraska.
Nebraska or USC.
USC. I hate to do this, but USC.
They won't last long. USC or Purdue.
USC.
USC or Illinois.
Illinois.
Illinois or MSU.
Illinois, baby.
Yeah, Michigan State doesn't win in these parts. Nope. Illinois or Indiana.
Give me Illinois.
Illinois or Michigan.
Oh, I have to go Illinois.
Oh, Illinois or Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State or Penn State.
Penn State. You heard it here.
Okay, Penn State or Oregon. Ooh,
Give me the Oregon Ducks, baby. I can't go against my team.
we knew that was coming. We knew that was coming.
Let's go. Who do you got for
Oh,
Big
boy.
Ten?
Penn State, I think.
I knew that was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a complete team.
That's fair. I could
I
definitely
want
see
it to be
that.
Michigan.
Yeah.
My heart says Michigan, my head says Penn State.
Yeah, I could if Oregon goes to Penn State and beats them at Penn State, they're the real deal, but I have
Yeah,
a lot of doubts because it's a very young Oregon team, and they have a bunch of injuries already, so we'll see.
that's fair.
All right, ACC, Georgia Tech or Syracuse?
Oh my gosh. Georgia Tech,
GT or your boys UNC?
UNC, give them to me. Bill Belichick in the house.
Bill Belichick's UNC or Duke?
This is another heart head situation. I know who I think probably will win, but I'm gonna say UNC.
UNC or Pitt?
UNC.
Wow, UNC or SMU?
UMC.
Wow, UNC or Florida State University?
Florida State.
The horrible Florida State or Boston College?
Florida State.
Jeez, Florida State or Louisville?
Florida State.
Florida State or Miami?
Miami.
And Miami or Clemson?
Miami.
Wow, picks UNC over SMU. Come on.
Got to. Got to.
All right, we'll see. You never know. Bill Belichick, he's potentially a winner, but he doesn't have Tom Brady.
That's true. All right, Big 12. We'll round us out here. Utah or Texas Tech?
Give me the Raiders, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech or Colorado?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech or BYU?
Oh, BYU.
Okay, BYU or Arizona?
BYU.
BYU or Oklahoma State?
BYU, baby.
BYU or Arizona State?
Arizona State.
I'd say that's a tougher one. Arizona State or Kansas State?
Arizona State.
Arizona State or Iowa State?
Ooh, that's an upset team, but Arizona State.
Okay, Arizona State or Baylor?
Arizona State.
Arizona State or TCU?
Arizona State.
Arizona State or Cincy?
Arizona State is going to be a repeat, I think, Big 12 champ.
Okay, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah. Kenny Dillingham is their coach, and he is the former Oregon offensive coordinator. That guy's really talented, super young coach, really talented guy.
I think they'll win too. Who did you have for ACC? I didn't ask you.
That one's so hard because like Clemson could be good, but I could see Louisville being good. I mean, I could see SMU being good again. I don't know. That one's honestly a really tough one. I hate Miami, so they could, of course, win, no doubt, but we'll see.
I know I took an unconventional way there, but I'm feeling pretty confident about Miami in that one.
That's fair. I mean, they're definitely the most talented, so they should win, but they do dumb stuff and lose all the time. So,
That's true.
all right, you ready for the halftime pour?
Let's get into it.
All right. So, we're going to tell you a little bit about what we're drinking, what's the proof, some tasting or smelling notes, the average price, our rating out of a scale of 100, which is new, and a question of the night. So, Scott, you want to go first?
Sure thing, man. I'm excited about this. I feel like it's actually like the fourth quarter pour tonight, but that's all right because we've been sipping anyway. But my pick tonight is a new bottle, as I promised last week, and it is. See if we got a good look here. This is the Michter's Small Batch Bourbon, the US1, and it's a new bottle. And one of the things that's really interesting, I'll take this off. You can see this. Well, maybe. It's not really loading well in the video.
There you go, right there.
The 2024 most admired whiskey in the world.
Ooh.
Yep, according to Drinks International. So yeah, I just thought that was a fun little thing that came with the bottle here. But this is the Michter's Small Batch. It is a 91.4 proof, so a little light on the alcohol content, which is fine. The price of this one was about $50 here in North Carolina. some tasting notes. So I'm gonna go with the smell first. The smell was kind of heavy with like butterscotch and caramel or caramel, really kind of a sweeter type of an aroma. And then when I took my first sip, and this is actually the first time I've ever had this bourbon here on the podcast tonight.
Hmm.
It gave me really like toffee, toffee tastes,
Okay.
and then a lot of oak and some spices. So interesting. It smelled very sweet, but kind of more bitter flavors once I actually took the sip here. It's still very tasty, very oaky. And when I looked this up, it sounds like this one is typically aged for about 8 years. So that might explain why there's a little bit more of an oaky flavor going on in this.
Yeah.
But it is tasty. I think it's better than the dry fly that I had last week. It's not as good as many bourbons that I've had, in my opinion. So I'm going to give it a modest 77 on the rating scale tonight.
Wow. Okay. It's fair. Very in depth.
Yeah. What do you got for us?
I have the Carl T. Hubers, it's a Starlight Distillery cigar batch in the Ambarana barrels with a finish here. It is a single barrel pick from Central Store in Iowa. I got to thank my friend Travis who got this for me when he was there for an internship. 4-year-old bottle. Located in Indiana is where the distillery is. I think it was about $90, a little bit more on the pricier end because, smaller distillery, very particular flavors, Ambarana, all that kind of stuff. Ambarana is a very particular type of Brazilian wood, and so it creates a very distinct flavor. 113 proof on this. Um, to me, this smells like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like, that is the immediate smell that I get right away. The best way I can describe it is that, if you've ever smelled that cereal, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, it tastes like, smells like someone's cooking French toast in the morning. Um, I also, on the taste, I get that very heavy cinnamon flavor up front. It also has some baking spice mixtures, vanilla, and I think a little bit of nuttiness to it. Very, very unique smell and flavor. So if you're looking for something interesting and different, this is what I would recommend, or something that's finished in Ambarana barrels. I think that you're going to get a very unique experience. That's just, something you can pull out when you're looking for something that's different from other barrel or other bottles in your selection. So I'm going to give this one an 83. I think it's pretty good. Not the greatest thing I've ever had in the world, but it is a nice mix up bourbon. Where every time you're looking for something a little bit different or edgy. So,
Hell yeah. That sounds tasty, man.
so cheers, and we'll go through our question of the night, which is what, Scott?
Yeah. What is your bucket list sports moment, stadium, matchup, etc. to witness in person and why? Deep, you want us to take
Ooh,
it away with that one?
yeah, bucket list. Um, I guess now this is technically still possible, but Oregon, Ohio State national championship. Oregon wins, crushes Ohio State's soul. We get to rush the field and go buck wild. That's probably got to be my top one that I would probably never forget for the rest of my life.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah. Um, I feel like mine may have already happened. So I'll tell you what it was, and then I'll give you a really short alternative.
Okay.
um, Back in 2017, I went to the NHL Winter Classic, and we talked about this long ago on
Yeah.
the podcast. But the Winter Classic is an outdoor hockey game that's played in a baseball stadium in the middle of winter, usually like right around New Year's Day or the day after. So like in the middle of winter time. And in 2017, it was actually my last year that I lived in St. Louis. So it was actually the last time I was able to do this. And it worked out perfectly. But the St. Louis Blues were hosting the Chicago Blackhawks, which is their biggest rival.
Mm.
So I was able to actually see the Blues play the Blackhawks in the Winter Classic in Busch Stadium, the
Oh,
home of the Cardinals, which is my favorite baseball team. And it was very cold, but we liquored up a little bit and we bought some swag, had some blankets, some of those blankets I still have where it's like Blues versus Blackhawks, Winter Classic. and the Blues smashed them. They beat them. It was never really close. The Blues won that game. It was just a really cool memory to do something so unique like that and see my favorite team beat my most hated team out of any sport. So that was my bucket list moment. The only thing that might top that, and I'll just throw this as an aside, would be if the Blues or no, because the Blues can't even play the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I'll say Michigan beating Ohio State in the national championship. Then would be my other one.
Okay. Or beating them when they win the national championship.
Well, that happened already.
Hell yeah. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers, brother.
Oh, sorry, I had a piece of chocolate because I wanted to enhance my tasting for tonight.
Well, there you go. Well, let's do a quick call out to some of our community members.
Yeah.
We're always going to call out some stuff that we see on our social media. So, what we're kind of coining our fan of the week, something that we heard that was kind of positive or positive interaction we had was Elias Martinez on TikTok. We made a tier list last week about quarterbacks in the NFL, and Elias had some comments about Geno being a B ranking on our tier list, and which led to some back and forth conversation. But very civil about it, a very good kind of sports conversation and debate. So we just appreciate the feedback and the engagement there from Elias. And then we also have a hater of the week. Deeb, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. The bombiest on TikTok. They were hating on your Ravens Super Bowl pick over the Eagles. So left us it wasn't anything too crazy, but definitely kind of a hater-esque comment there, disagreeing with your pick, which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a passionate sports fan, and we encourage that as well. We want to hear all takes, even if they're contrary to what we think.
Oh yeah. Let's do some picks.
Hell yeah. So single barrel picks this week is going to be related to the main card of the UFC 319 pay-per-view that's coming up this weekend. So we're going to run through the five fights that are on the main card, and we'll start with the least important and go towards the main important ones here. So
Okay.
the first fight is going to be Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura, and Asakura is the favorite here. Basically, Asakura is kind of expected to win this by knockout, and that's just with being, a striking competitor that has youth versus kind of an older, kind of more tired fighter in Elliott here. So that is the prediction of analysts. But Deeb, who is your pick to win this fight outright?
I can see that happening. So I could give me Asakura with a TKO. Let's even double down.
Okay, I'm with you. Actually, I'll do the exact same pick on that one because yeah, I agree. Tim Elliott's been around for a while, and I think the gas might be running out there. Next fight we have is it is Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page, and Michael Page is the favorite of this one. He's kind of seen as like an X Factor, unpredictable kind of fighter. He has an unusual skill set, so he always has the potential for highlight reel finishes. But obviously, there's pros and cons to being unconventional. So, who do you think is going to win that match?
I that's pretty close odds. So I'm actually going to pick the underdog. Give me Cannoneer in this one.
Nice, I like that. Yeah, and UFC, being only a minus 198 is actually very close when it comes to fights. Usually, those odds are in like the three or four hundreds. So I agree. This one could go either way. I used to watch Michael Page a lot, so I'm going to stick with him. I think he's a really fun guy to watch fight. And so I'll go with Michael Venom Page.
All right.
Next fight we have here is Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. And I don't have a lot to say about this one really, but it's going to be violent. It's kind of like a striker versus a really gritty brawler. And so I think this one's going to be fun no matter who wins. But who do you pick for this? The favorite is Carlos Prates.
Yeah, I think I got Prates. He has a little bit more experience, so I'm just going to go with him for that.
Yeah, I feel like when records are kind of similar or when odds are a little bit similar, then experience can go a long way. Just to be different and to call out an underdog in this one, I will go with Jeff Neal here, who's a plus 205 on the fight.
Okay.
Our co-main event of the night, Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, and this is an interesting one. Pico's UFC debut, actually. So he is, let me get his record right. He is actually 13-4 as a professional fighter versus Lerone Murphy 16-0-1.
Hmm.
So by record alone, you would think Murphy would be the favorite, but Pico is kind of an aggressive wrestler who has hands, and people are thinking he actually might come in on his debut and win against Murphy. Murphy is undefeated, but his kind of knock is that he hasn't fought against like super high caliber competitors before. So again, I'll let you go first. Who do you think is going to win that one?
I'm gonna go with the tried and true Lerone Murphy. I think he
Okay.
stays undefeated, and that experience takes him over apparently the being the underdog here.
Nice. I'm gonna go with Pico. I think that in his debut, people who have wrestling can control fights well, and I'm gonna stick to that, even though I might flip on that on my next pick, which is our main event. We've got Driscus Duplessis versus Kamzat Chimaev. I'm really bad at pronouncing these names. I apologize in advance. But this one, people are calling that this is going to be, it's kind of a 50-50 match where they could see anybody winning here. Um, Duplessis has kind of an unorthodox striking style versus Chimaev is very much like a wrestler that is very aggressive with his wrestling. So Chimaev's undefeated. He's 14-0. He is the favorite by betting odds. He's minus 238 to win. Who do you have in this one?
I have to go with Chimaev. I know that the genre that he comes from, the people he trains with, that wrestling style is very tough to beat, and so I think he stays undefeated.
Yeah, well, you're damn sure, you're damn right about everything you just said. I am going to flip my normal strategy here. I typically kind of side on the side of wrestlers because of how well they can control the fight and generally how tough that they are. But I'm going to go with Duplessis here. I think that we might see Chimaev's first loss. And sometimes being unpredictable can really help you to pull out an unexpected victory. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It would be maybe unexpected if Duplessis won, but I'm going to ride with Duplessis in a very closely contested match.
All right. I think the only other random thing we wanted to mention was that pay-per-views will no longer be a thing for UFC next year. They got a CBS deal, so that's going to be going away. And then there's something else with WWE too, right?
Yeah, it must be the week of changing your brand deals. So, in addition to the UFC going to a streaming service after their deal with Paramount, they're going to be now on CBS. The WWE, who has had their premium live events all going to Peacock for several years now, just signed a deal with ESPN, and they're going to be having their premium events shown on ESPN streaming service. Both of these things starting in 2026. So big changes in the combat sports or wrestling entertainment genres here with how they stream their services. But pay-per-views are a thing of the past, I think. The streaming services are the new normal.
Sweet. Ready for the 2-minute warning?
I think so. Yeah, let's get this. I'm gonna pull up our timer here and we can get the questions rolling. I know these are typically very silly and usually a
Yeah.
good time.
Last year, I think we were laughing pretty good, so hopefully we have some good ones this week too.
Yeah, last week's were awesome. All right, I'm gonna make this full screen here. Hopefully that's yep, here we go. You can ask the first one this time. Go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
All right, here we go. Would you rather spend a weekend golfing with Charles Barkley or spend one night sharing a bunk bed with Dennis Rodman in Vegas?
Man, I feel like sharing a bunk bed with Dennis Rodman in Vegas would be very dangerous for my health. Golf is something that I've learned to grow to really like this year. So I think let's go golfing with Charles Barkley and hopefully he'll let me borrow his wedge. Would you rather be mic'd up while you four putt every hole at the Masters or cry on live TV after losing in rock, paper, scissors 6 times in a row? Excuse me, to a 6-year-old.
Definitely mic'd up because if I'm playing at the Masters, that means number one, I've made it. But for putting, it'd be pure entertainment, 100%.
Okay. All right.
Would you rather play dodgeball with Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson or run the 40-yard dash in flip flops while Deion Sanders heckles you?
This might be crazy, but I love dodgeball and I'm quite good at it. And I don't think these two might be very good at throwing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I might have a chance at actually beating Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson. Now, Mayweather probably can dodge the dodgeball because he can dodge punches so well, but I can dodge too. So let's play dodgeball with those two and see what happens.
Wow.
Would you rather take 5 body shots from Francis Ngannou, or would you be rather be forced to coach a t-ball team full of toddlers who all hate you?
Definitely the coaching of the T-ball team because Francis Ngannou would probably kill me, just like Mike Tyson would from the question last week.
That's valid.
Would you rather wear Crocs in the Super Bowl or clown shoes in a UFC title fight?
Probably Crocs in the Super Bowl. I've actually never worn Crocs, but people always talk about how comfortable they are, and they've got the sport mode.
Dude, I have some on right now. They're comfy.
Hell yeah. Our time's gonna run out, but I'm gonna ask you one more here.
Yeah.
Would you rather take a fastball to the back from Randy Johnson or have to high five every fan in Yankee Stadium while wearing a Red Sox jersey?
Wow, how come I'm always in the ones that are violent where I get hit by something? I mean, high-fiving every fan, that would take so long, so I probably would just take a fastball because it would really hurt and leave a mark, but it'd eventually go away. It wouldn't take that long.
Yeah, that would be tough. I probably would agree with you though. Mentally, it would be draining to go high five everyone in a whole stadium.
Oh, yeah, and especially in a dude, you know how much shit would be talked to you if you're wearing a Red
Oh
Sox
yeah.
jersey? That would
Oh
be
yeah.
crazy. Alright, well, it's time for the last call. Just like at a bar, when they kick you out, we're gonna kick you out until next time. So, Scott, what do you got for the last call?
I just want to thank everyone who has been following our journey, like I always do here. But I want to hear specifically how these interactive segments have gone. If you guys like the this or that, and the who says no and the trades, or even the brand new kind of which athlete was this with their photo blacked out. So let us know what you guys think about that. Hopefully, you'll engage with our social media posts and make your own guesses and choices too. But again, just thank you guys for being a part of this journey. Check out the merch store if you haven't, singlebarrelsports.com. It will be updated over time. And otherwise, we're going to keep rocking and rolling. We are back in full swing here.
Hell yeah. Um, I think I'm gonna get deep with us for a second here for the last call. You ready?
All right,
Alright,
let's go.
so, kinda getting in that coach mode, gotta get people pumped up, gotta kinda say some wise words, but, for me, I think if you're out there and you're listening, continue to do your best in everything that you do, whether it's, your job, being a father or a mother, being a friend, being a brother, a sister, etc. Whatever you do in life, I think you always got to put your best foot forward and always give maximal effort. And just know that if you do that, you will still be better than the fourth string quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders. So that's what I have for the last call, folks. And that's what I have. So,
Nice. I didn't see that coming, actually. I'm not going to lie.
plot twist. But until next week, friends, I think that's all we got.
Hell yeah. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.